My life used to move in a simple rhythm. Every morning, I woke up at the same time. I made tea, opened the window, and watched the street slowly come alive. People passed by with familiar faces. Nothing surprising ever happened, and I liked it that way. My days were quiet, predictable, and safe. He was part of that ordinary life. He lived with calmness, as if noise did not belong to him. He spoke softly, listened carefully, and never rushed his words. People trusted him easily. So did I. He never raised his voice, never explained too much, and never complained. At home, he followed small habits, placing his keys in the same corner, folding his coat neatly, and sitting silently with his thoughts in the evening. To the world, he was simple and honest. And yet, there were moments that felt unfinished. Sometimes, when I asked him about his day, he smiled and answered briefly, then changed the topic. Sometimes, he returned late, carrying silence instead of stories. His eyes often looked tired, but not from work, from something deeper, something unspoken. I told myself not to overthink. Life was peaceful. Trust was easy. But one evening, as he stood near the door, holding his coat and looking at me, he paused. Just for a second. His eyes held a weight I could not understand. Then he smiled and left. That silence stayed behind. After that evening, I began to notice things I had ignored before. It was not one big change. It was many small ones. He started coming home later than usual. Not every night, just enough to feel different. When I asked, he said work had become demanding. His voice stayed calm, but his eyes avoided mine. Sometimes, his phone vibrated late at night. He never answered it in front of me. He would step into the next room or wait until morning. I told myself everyone needs privacy. Trust should not ask questions. One day, while cleaning, I found a set of keys I had never seen before. They were old, heavy, and unfamiliar. I held them in my hand for a long time, wondering which door they belonged to. When I asked him about them, he paused, then smiled lightly. Just something from the past, he said. That answer stayed with me. He became quieter, not cold, just distant, as if part of him was always somewhere else. At dinner, his thoughts drifted. His smile came slower. His silence lasted longer. Still, I did not feel fear. I felt confusion. At night, as he slept beside me, I watched the ceiling and listened to the quiet. I wondered what kind of past could still need keys, silence, and late nights. But I did not ask again. Some questions feel safer when left unanswered. The day he disappeared felt ordinary at first. He left the house quietly that morning, just as he always did. He picked up his coat, checked his watch, and smiled at me. Nothing in his face warned me. Nothing told me that this moment would be the last normal one. He never came back. At first, I waited without fear. An hour passed. Then another. I told myself he was late again. Evening arrived, and the house filled with silence instead of footsteps. I called his phone. It rang, unanswered. Again and again. By night, worry turned into something heavier. The days that followed moved strangely. People spoke to me, but their voices sounded far away. I heard words like missing, no record, we will inform you. Every sentence ended without answers. Then came the confirmation, not dramatic, not loud. Just a quiet statement that closed every door of hope. He was gone. Suddenly. Permanently. The house changed after that. His chair stayed empty. His coat still hung by the door. His cup remained where he last placed it. I walked through the rooms slowly, touching objects that no longer belonged to the present. Grief did not arrive like a storm. It arrived like silence, thick, heavy, and endless. I had questions, but no one to ask. I had memories, but no explanations. His absence felt unfinished, as if a story had stopped in the middle of a sentence. Weeks passed before I found the truth. I was sorting through his things one afternoon, not looking for answers, only trying to create space. In the back of a drawer, beneath old papers, I found an envelope. It was thick, sealed, and addressed in his handwriting. Not to me. Inside were documents I did not recognize. Identification cards with his photograph, but a different name. Addresses I had never seen. Receipts from a city he had never mentioned. My hands began to shake as I turned each page slowly. Then I found the photographs. In them, he stood in places unknown to me, wearing clothes I had never seen him wear. He looked the same, yet not the same. His posture was firmer. His expression was serious. Beside him were people whose faces told stories I did not understand. It felt like I was looking at a stranger wearing the face of someone I loved. My heart filled with confusion first, not anger. I replayed our conversations, our silences, his late nights. Everything I had accepted suddenly felt like a lie. Had I been living with only half of a person? The room felt smaller. The walls felt closer. I questioned every memory, every smile, every word, every quiet moment. I wanted to believe there was an explanation. But the truth was undeniable. He had lived another life. And I had never been part of it. For days, I lived between anger and grief. I read the documents again and again, hoping they would change. They did not. But slowly, patterns began to appear. Dates matched the nights he came home late. Addresses matched the places he avoided talking about. What once felt like betrayal started to feel deliberate. Then I found a small notebook. Inside, his handwriting was careful and steady. There were names, notes, and quiet reminders written to himself. One sentence appeared again and again: keep them safe. Not me. Them. That was when I understood. His second life was not about escape or lies. It was about responsibility. About protecting people who could not be seen. People who depended on silence to survive. The different name, the secret addresses, the late nights, they were shields, not walls. He carried two lives because one was not enough. I realized how carefully he had separated them. How much effort it must have taken to protect me from fear while protecting others from danger. The distance I had felt was not emotional, it was protective. My pain softened into something quieter. He did not hide because he did not trust me. He hid because he loved too many people at once. And now, standing alone with his truth, I finally saw the weight he had carried in silence. With time, my anger slowly lost its voice. I stopped asking why and began asking how. How did he carry so much alone? How did he love so quietly, without ever asking to be understood? I realized something important. I had wanted complete honesty, but I had also wanted safety. And he gave me that. He gave me peaceful mornings, familiar routines, and a life free from fear. The truth he hid was heavy, and he chose to carry it himself so I would not have to. People often believe that love means sharing everything. Now I know that sometimes love means protecting someone from truths that could hurt them. He was not perfect. He made choices without my consent. But those choices were not selfish. They were careful, thoughtful, sacrificial. He lived a double life so others, including me, could live a single, peaceful one. Forgiveness did not arrive suddenly. It arrived quietly, like understanding. It arrived when I accepted that goodness does not always look honest on the surface. Sometimes it hides behind silence. I no longer felt betrayed. I felt proud. He had lived 2 lives, yes. But both were built on responsibility, courage, and love. And in accepting that, I finally made peace with his absence. Life taught me a quiet lesson through his silence. We often believe that love means knowing everything about someone. But the truth is, no matter how close we are, parts of people remain unseen. Not because they are dishonest, but because they are protecting something fragile. Everyone carries a private world. Some carry pain. Some carry responsibility. Some carry promises they never speak about. Judging without understanding is easy. Listening without knowing the full story is human. I learned that a person can be both truthful and secretive. They can be loving and silent. They can be present, yet divided inside. He lived 2 lives, but both were shaped by care. One was visible. The other was hidden. Neither was meaningless. Now, when I look at people, I pause before assuming. I remember that kindness is sometimes quiet, and sacrifice is often invisible. We may never fully know anyone, but we can choose to understand them with compassion. And sometimes, that is the deepest form of love.